This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you one and all for being a part of the webinar series which has been started by EduLoans. We are going to be talking today about the best insurance, Forex options, and others for your overseas education. We have our presenter today, Mr. Banit Singh. He's an education loan expert. He is from EduLoans and he will be taking us through the benefits and the best products that are available for a student who's going abroad. You can ask your questions at the end of the presentation. We have a chat box to the right below the attendees. You have a chat box where you can put in your questions, and Mr. Banat Singh will be answering those questions for you once the presentation is over. You can feel free to view the recording of this webinar, which will be updated online on our portal in the next 2 to 3 days. So I now hand over this session to Mr. Banat Singh, who will be taking it forward from here. Thank you.
Okay. So hi, Gurpreet. Sorry for technical glitches. Where you will have these now. Most of you in 2019 would be looking at the best insurance or forex options, and this is the webinar with regard to these options available. So now let's look at the most important decision is whether you should be looking at university insurance or you should be looking at insurance with private entities. Now, what do you mean by private entities? Now, private entities is that insurance companies like ICICI, like GBG, like ISP, these are all private insurers who tie up with insurance companies. Basically, in the US, if you would know, there are only two major insurance companies. One is United, and the other is Aetna. And these are they between them they occupy 80% or 90% of the student insurance business. So if you're looking at these two, these are companies who are marketing entities and who are taking insurance policies from Aetna or United. Even for that matter, the university itself, uh, if you would know, the university is not an insurance company. A university is a university, so they are also seeking insurance or from any of these two players in general. So if you would read the fine print of your university insurance, you would realize that it would be either be Aetna or it would be United. I guess United has about 51% market share and Aetna has about 45%. So between them, they have like 95% market share of insurance in the US. Now let's look at some differences which you can think of when you look at insurance between universities and private entities. So the first thing is the cost. When we take university insurance, it's more costly than say private entities like GBG, ISP, or part of it. A university insurance generally has complete cover, which means they cover everything. Insurance companies have partial cover. Now, what do you mean by partial here? Partial would be that there would be some amount of money which you have to pay from your own pocket before the insurance kicks in. That amount could be $100, $400, $500, or $1,000. Okay, and generally that part is there's a terminology which is used for it, and that's the one which we have. University insurances use all the university resources. So basically, every university has an in-house, you can say a hospital, or maybe a clinic, etc. If you're taking an insurance from the university, you are eligible to use those services. Now, when you take insurance or from outside, you may not be able to use the university resources. So that's an important thing. So all of you students are hereby advised that the insurance company you choose should be able to use university resources. The insurance company cover for the university is mainly cashless, which means you don't have to pay anything cash. You get a card and through the card swipe, these guys get paid by the insurance companies. From private insurances, most of them are cashless, like GBG or ISP. But if you take from India, that for matter, you take from any of the United or any of the Indian insurance companies, LIC, etc., etc., they will be cash full. So they will have to pay cash on its own. In terms of insurance acceptance, university accepts its own insurance, which means that as per the F1 rule, any student looking to study in the US needs to have a valid insurance. It is compulsory by the government that you need to have an insurance. Now, university then further obligates that the insurance which they provide or certain parameters they have an insurance cover has to fulfill for it to be accepted by the university. Now, university acceptance is on its own parameters or laid out whichever university insurance is given. Obviously, these are insurances by either United or Aetna. It accepts them. In the private business, you have to ensure that university may or may not accept the private insurance. So every university has an insurance opt-out form and certain parameters in that insurance which are written in the insurance paper itself. These parameters, when fulfilled, the insurance the university accepts the insurance of a private entity. So that's sacrosanct. So even if you're looking at private entities, you should look at accepting this. The third last is insurance starts from the payment of the fee. So what happens is if you're traveling to the US or during time of travel or even post the travel when you're living, you're allowed to travel 3 months prior to the start date of the course. And unless you pay the fees or the insurance doesn't kick in. Whereas if you're taking from private entity, as soon as you can pay it upfront as soon as you land in the US or maybe before that, and your insurance kicks in. So that's the thing which is the differentiating factor between the two. Now, do's and don'ts of insurance business. The first do important. If you are taking up insurance outside the purview of the university, you have to get the waiver from the university. It is sacrosanct and it is important because otherwise the university will not accept the insurance and you will not be eligible for it for university features or university hospital facilities inside the university. The second important thing is even if you're taking insurance cover from the university or even from our third parties, check the availability of doctors. So how does that happen? Usually on each and every whosoever you take it from IBG, GBG, ISP or the ones which we can push you to, they usually have a doctor list or they have a pin code list. You go on the pin code, put in the pin code for the university, and then you can check whether the doctor is available or not. And depending on the number of doctors around that area or around the university, see, US is a huge country. Its area is 6 times the Indian size, and in certain remote locations universities or insurance will not be available. So that's how it is. So you please be careful on that. Check for the deductible amount. Now, this is what I mentioned, that the initial amount which you have to pay upfront is called the deductibles. So $100, $500, $1,000. Generally, about 100, 200 is good. So that's the estimated range. Check for your percentage payment. So again, here what happens is insurance policies have that up to say $1,000 or $2,000, you have to pay 10% or 20%. Maybe post which you have to pay nothing, or it could be anyways, or up till how much ever you use, you need to pay 10% yourself. So it depends on the percentage. So you choose your plans carefully. Third thing is time for insurance, which means that at any point in the time while traveling, we recommend that your insurance or you should be covered by insurance, which means that you must take a travel insurance when you go, which lasts for 3 months before university insurance kicks in. It is sacrosanct because if by chance something happens to you there and you have to visit the doctor, US is not as economical as India. And the last but not the least is the price comparison. Now, this is where we would say that university insurance is very, very expensive. Compared to a slight tweak in the whole plan, which means that $100 deductible, etc., the insurance amount paid per year can reduce by $1,000, which means that insurance could be $1,500 if taken from these players, and the same insurance could be say 2,500 or 3,000 if taken from the university. Now what that happens is, and the reinsurer is the same. It's always either Aetna or United, etc. So what I can suggest to you is check which university or which company has the university availed its insurance from, and if the same company is available from outside with minor changes and you save $1,000, I don't think that's it's an issue at all. So that's the one which you should think of in terms of insurance. Now, very important. In terms of insurance, do not take cashless insurance, which means that you have to pay there and get your reimbursements. It's generally observed it takes anywhere between 1 week to 3 months to get your reimbursement, which becomes a hasslement. Do not take from India, because if the call center of the point of, when you need some help, their call centers are supposed to be in the US. In India call center, they will first ask you to contact the company who has the insurance company in India. So suppose if you have taken ICICI, they will ask you to first contact ICICI in India. Once you have contacted them, then they will correct your counterpart there, which will waste a lot of time. Third, do not take any insurance which is not approved from the college. Very clear about it. All the parameters need to be approved very clearly. Another don't is that in terms of beneficiary details, please don't leave them blank. So that's the important thing in terms of putting in place. In terms of pricing, again, this is a different point of view, that just do not go for the university insurance just because of the pricing, or do not go for the cheapest insurance because of the pricing. So if somebody in India is offering you same thing at 20,000 or 30,000 rupees, and the university insurance is $3,000 or $2,000, please look at what he's offering for 20 or 30,000. In terms of deductible not amount is very important, wherein you are looking at what kind of deductibles. Sometimes if you have very high deductible, it's not worth it, because in most of the cases you will have to pay yourself and the insurance doesn't kick in. So be careful on these aspects, and to take it forward. The best way to transfer your school fees. Now, this is not a hard and fast rule, but what we think is, first take cash money of USD 500 with you. Take Forex of 500 to a $1,500 with you. When you reach there, you open your account, and then you transfer money either from Forex companies like Axis, Ebix, or Thomas Cook, or from your normal banks or from account transfer. So that's the best way of going about your Forex transfers. You please compare your rates with each of your transfer and other additional amounts, and then take it forward. You can take living expenses in cash or in card at the time for the first 3 months, post which it can be a bank transfer. Do's and don'ts of them. Now, very important here, all the Forex companies or cards will claim that they charge zero withdrawal fees. However, when you go to the US, you are actually not operating their own cash machines. You will say operate, say, a Bank of America cash machine to withdraw cash. Now, when you use that cash machine, there is going to be a charge of 3%, or there is going to be some fixed expenses for withdrawal. Please check in around your campus what are the ATMs available, and ask them these relevant questions of what are the forex charges for these banks. The second is the transfer rate, which is called the IBR rate, interbank rate, or it's the rate at which the banks sell currency to themselves, to each other. So check how much percentage more they're asking for above IBR, and there you can ascertain how much currency is, or what kind of money they are making above your spread, or it's called the spread. Third, check for taxes on transfer. Now, it's a very funny thing that you know Indian government charges service tax. So there is an 18% GST which is charged on all interest or all transactions or all the money which gets transferred. So please check on that. And sorry, correction. 18% is charged on the amount which they make as service or fee income, and on the total amount of insurance, it is 0.75%. So these are two charges of taxes which they use. The fourth point, check on RBI guidelines on transfer. Now, as per RBI, you are allowed to transfer 250,000 US dollars in a year without any kind of, in terms of any kind of approvals. So you're requested to check them and transfer them as education head. So please don't transfer them as, setting up a company or any other things which gives you into problem. Now check rate of conversions both sides. Now this is very important. Sometimes what happens is we are so bothered about our rate that during the time of sending for the loan we send, and then when we start repaying it, we don't bother about the conversion rate. So please check that when you are repaying your loan also, which is a dollar to rupee conversion, you can please check on the rate of conversion on both sides. Accommodation facilities. Now this is with regard to accommodation. The on campus is obviously expensive, off campus is cheaper. I think the view, if you look at the photo, that's very good. You on campus is below, you have a pool, etc., etc., and above you maybe have a single room itself, or maybe a twin sharing room. On campus, definitely cleaner. Off campus, no comments. It's because of your individual or the house which keeps maintenance. On campus is convenient. Off campus needs to travel. Now you have to understand, US is a huge demography. So people living in, say, Michigan or north side, or they this heavy snowfall, it's heavy blizzards. Sometimes a half a mile walk or half a kilometer walk itself is so strenuous. So just be careful on those sides. It is advisable to have public transport which connects you directly into your college, which means that you have a public transport which you catch on to and it goes into the college itself. That's the best thing which you can have on campus. You have mess available, which means that you can eat on campus. Off campus, you either take a mess or you can do self cooking. So that becomes all the vegetarians and all the Jains in the world can look at self cooking. On campus, you get to participate in clubs or immersion programs, because there is already somebody coming into your hostel or dorm. So you have people from other states, there are lots of kind of events happening in and around your dorm, etc. So, in terms of, say, overall growth, sometimes, interacting with other cultures and talking to all of them leads to a different experience compared to off campus, which may not be possible when you are living, say, for example, most of you living with Indians, and in that case, the Bombay guys will be living from Bombay, the Bangalore will be guys will be living with Bangalore. So all of that will happen. So think about this idea. From the security issue, on campus definitely secure. The university is answerable. There are patrolling cars which come into the university on frequently. Off campus living is area wise. So US is very well known for areas. So certain areas are crime free, certain areas are high on crime. So please choose your area of stay very, very carefully, looking at these parameters and then deciding what you have to do. Ways to book your flight ticket. Now that's online. That's the first. So check from Make My Trip, etc., etc., etc. Check which one is there. Check from travel agencies, Thomas Cook, etc. Check from, if in case you're doing right time to do the bookings would be probably about 2 to 3 months in advance. Now this so for example, Thomas Cook offers this facility wherein you have one time change free of cost, which means, what happens is when students are applying for their visa, sometimes the visa gets delayed or something happens, etc. So your initial timing may not suit you. So these are the options which are available. So while booking, I know it is late in the day and most of you would have already booked your flight tickets, but in terms of structure, if you're looking at booking your flight tickets, look at these options. These options do make a difference, because these are the ones which actually matter, and in terms take care of it. Third thing is connecting flights. Now this is very important here. Now certain flights allow you to carry your laptop as hand baggage. Certain flights would want ask them to keep it inside. In terms of carriers, in terms of direct or connecting flights, there could be issues wherein some immigration, like for example, if you go through Abu Dhabi, the immigration is done through Abu Dhabi airport, so which makes it more convenient. So you don't have to do immigration in the US point of view. And in terms of say, in terms of even in terms of the baggage, now like most student centric airlines allow either 2 bags or 3 bags to be carried along, so that makes it very advantageous. They know that you're going there for long haul as a student. They require you to have 2 bags or 3 bags coming in. Another important aspect is if you're looking at connecting flights, please keep enough provision in between two flights to prevent any kind of connection issues. It's very common that uh, incoming flight is late and hence outgoing flight will be late. So at any point, and this is actually very happened to me very recently. So for example, we were flying in from, we had to go to Washington for a conference in the US, and we were flying through Air China, and due to some kind of rains in Beijing, the incoming flight into the Mumbai airport did not actually come on time. Once that didn't come on time, we were stranded for about 5 to 6 hours in on Bombay airport. Because of that, the connecting flight from China to the US did not happen, and because of that, we lost a day. So it all gets you haywire sometimes. And one more thing about flights is please reach US in the mornings. Okay, it's very important because you're going to a new place. You are going to a place wherein you don't know anybody, and it's not that US is crime free. So let me be, so you please get that, don't reach at odd times. This is not India. Let me tell you, you will find nobody on the street. In India everything is crowded and there are a lot of people on the street, which is like a security in itself. In the US, airports do close in the night, so please reach in the morning such that when you are comfortably, you have enough time. If you get delayed or you need to do anything, or your baggage comes in late, and keep enough travel time between yourself to the university or your place of living in the US. Ideally ask your relatives or friends or somebody from the university to pick you up. It is good, it makes you feel secure, and it helps you out in many things. So that's what is completely required in terms of arrival and departure. Thank you. It was, I hope it was a good session, and any kind of questions, we are most ready to take it forward.
Thank you, Mr. Banit Singh, for taking us through this wonderful and giving us an understanding about insurance, forex, accommodation, flights. So all of these things which are very important for a student to know before a student flies for his education to a foreign country. We are now open for your questions. So I'm Gurpreet, I'm the product manager for EduLoans. So we would request you to put in your questions in the chat box, which is to the right, and we'll be more than happy to answer these questions for you. While we await your questions, I would just like to inform you that we are recording this session, this event. So in case if required, you can have a look at this event or this recording, which will go online on our portal. You can see the portal is, as you see on your screen, we have the portal address, which is www.eduloans.org, and you have the phone numbers of our loan officers, of our loan counselors. You can always feel free to ask any of your doubts or questions to our loan officers and counselors. They will definitely help you with the best education loan option as well. And besides that, the insurance products and the forex products, these are add-ons which certainly we can assist you with when you call a loan expert at EduLoans. So we are just awaiting a few questions to come in before we can wrap up the session for today.
So this question is very relevant. In terms of airlines, do you have any preferences of airlines? In terms of airlines, I would say that, say for example, the Gulf Airlines, basically your Etihad, Emirates, even Air India for that matter, is slightly more student-centric than maybe than maybe your American airlines like Delta, United, etc. So please check them. Sometimes they make you feel warm in terms of, and they help you out in kind of things which happen. That's the first part. uh, okay, one more. Okay, in terms of forex, which one do you recommend? Say Axis. In Okay, so technically speaking, I don't have any preferences for any one of them. Trust me, all of them are in the market, and all of them, and it is an open market, so it's best to negotiate. Whoever you negotiate in terms of is the best. Important to note is sometimes we become short-sighted. They just look at the training, don't look at what exactly or total cost is involved. Look at the cost from the angle wherein where you withdraw the money. That's those charges also you should look at. So be careful. Okay, another question. Nationalized banks are good, or say international banks, okay, for remittance? This is subjective. So for example, I think the most competitive in the market are, say, HSBC or Stancy. They give a good rate. However, even HDFC, if you are a Imperia customer, that's the one which is good. Even in case of nationalized banks, you have to ask them what they compete. So sometimes the manager has some leeway in terms of looking at it. So that's one. So in terms of, if you have taken a bank loan, same from SBI, I think that's what, and you are looking at saying that Axis Bank is cheaper in terms of, say, the transfer, you can always ask the SBI manager to load it in your Forex cards. Once you have loaded in the Forex card, you can then utilize or withdraw it in the US. That's the best way of going about it. Um, Okay, another thing is where the banker's check, which is which is not available, which means that the banker's check, in terms of, it was available recently, but currently it is not. So the banker's check is not there.
We have one question that's come from Rahul. With the connecting flights, will the baggage, not the carry-on luggage, the baggage, will that follow the same route?
Yes, it will. So the baggage follows you wherever you are going. So with connecting flights, your baggage will go on to the same route. Okay, any other questions which we have at the moment? I mean, we would be looking to address them. Hmm. Okay, in terms of insurance, so in terms of insurance, we have three players on the board. We have GVG, which takes insurance from United. We have PGH, again from United, and we have IFT, I think, which is from Itna. Now, very simply, these guys are excellent. Okay, they are multi-million dollars. In fact, they have call centers in the US, and they are very strong. So that's 100% there. It does make a difference. $1,000 end of the day is $1,000. It's as good as getting your air tickets free. So that's what happens. When you look at those options, after this mail, please get connected with us, and we can send you their details, and we can send you login, and you can have a call yourself. So their rates are competitive, because sometimes we believe the universities are slightly more expensive in this, because they know it's compulsory, and the student gets slightly more additional payment paid, whereas all these are heavily competitive. It's a hyper competitive market.
Thank you, Mr. Banit Singh, for such an informative session. We really thank all the attendees today, all the students who have come in for this webinar. And we have these webinar series week on week. It happens every Saturday between 4 to 4:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. We would be informing you through the various channels about the next webinar. We will have the next webinar with one of our financial partners. So we are partnered with the best financial institutions in India and abroad. You can make the best of EduLoans by calling our loan experts on the numbers given on your screens. Feel free to join these sessions and ask your questions, which will be answered during the session. And post that, you can call our numbers and get answers to your questions. Thank you once again all for your valuable time today, and you all have a wonderful day ahead. Bye for now.